This is the 1More Piston Fit, and on the surface it seems like a normal budget-friendly wide earphone. But there's a lot of backstory to this company. Even though it was designed by a small San Diego upstart think tank, it has now become a very powerful, popular, commonplace earphone company, audio company in China. And that's all thanks to the work and help of a very well-known Chinese company, Xiaomi, or as MKBHD and Western reviewers like to call it, Xiaomi. Now before I start this video proper, if you have any questions you want to ask or you want to argue with me, view my Instagram and Discord where you can argue with me. I reply to almost everything, and down in the comments I reply to those as well. So the 1More Piston Fit. How did this whole story of 1More being the next Beats by Dre, the Beats by Dre from China, and 1More being the savior of made in China products come about? Because that is what it is. Today, 1More is a company that makes hundreds, thousands, many different models of audio products. They're extremely popular in China as well as all over the world. The whole shtick is offering a lot of value for money and high quality features for a very good price. They have quadruple driver headphones that are built well and sound really good for very reasonable prices. And their whole shtick is disrupting the market and challenging basically anyone who's already there. So how did they go from a small San Diego upstart to a massive company that's working with the likes of Xiaomi and Lenovo and pretty much actually joining with them at this point? Well, the key is actually the earphones we're reviewing today, the 1More Piston Fit, or as it's more popularly known, the Xiaomi Piston Fit. Because when Xiaomi was looking for a cheap, value for money, wired earphone design to start selling all over China because there was a demand for it, they wanted something that was high quality yet easy to manufacture so that it could still be cheap. And then they stumbled across the 1More Piston Fit. What they then did was license the design from 1More and started selling it under their own name, Xiaomi. Using the OEM connections, the manufacturing might of Xiaomi, this small upstart's really good design for a simple wired earphone became extremely mass market and extremely well produced. And because of the quality it provided at like 5 to 10 Singapore dollars or about 5 USD frankly, sold like hotcakes all over China. And that's how Xiaomi really established themselves in the audio game. The Piston Fits were one of their first breakout successes when it came to making good audio product. That was completely thanks to 1More's brilliant design with the Piston Fits. Then later on, 1More as it grew, started making its own products under its own name, 1More. And in this case, they made the Piston Fits because they owned the rights to the design. They had all the right in the world to make another Piston Fit. There's a lot of confusion about this. Some people think that 1More and Xiaomi Piston Fits are different. They're the same because the Xiaomi design is actually a licensed design of the 1More. And that's kind of how 1More began and 1More started. But a couple years down the road, because of how successful this collaboration was and because of how Xiaomi wants to change the impression that Chinese made in China products have, especially in the audio world, what Xiaomi did was they bought 1More. They didn't buy 1More, they invited 1More into their kind of group. I'm not going to go into business kind of contract details here because no one really knows. But basically what happened was 1More was merged into a group of Chinese tech companies which include Lenovo, Xiaomi and a bunch of other brands. And basically the whole point of it is to use 1More as a brand to release high-end, high-quality, value for money, disruptive audio products that will not only segment Chinese products as quality as well as cheap, but also to disrupt the audio market and make things cheaper and make it themselves a bunch of money. So that's the I think, pretty interesting backstory behind all of this. The fact that a smaller upstart in San Diego ended up getting funded and bankrolled by a massive Chinese conglomerate just to, in the end, help out the Chinese brands in terms of marketing and brand image and reputation. I think it's a pretty interesting story in how globalization has allowed collaborations all over the world. And I think it's a wonderful little thing. And also it's pretty cool that, a small startup in San Diego ended up selling thousands of their design to people on the other side of the world, which is awesome. So let's talk about the actual earbud, which is really cheap. So it's clearly mass market oriented. And the design and build quality is extremely important. And these earphones exude quality for the price. The earbuds themselves are made of metal, so when you pick them up, they're hefty and they feel solidly built. The ear tips are very nice and pretty comfortable. The earphone is simple and clean. The branding is very very nice. All around, it's a pair of earphones that are extremely well designed. You know, they don't look cheap because they are clean, simple, and they have a very nice industrialist look, and they're made out of reasonably nice materials all around, which is good. It terminates in a nice gold-plated right-angled 3.5mm connector. I know the gold plating is useless, but it looks good and it's pretty much standard issue nowadays. The earphones themselves are pretty simple. The cable is quite short, but because it's a handphone earphone, you know, you're only using it with your smartphone, there's no point for it to be too long anyway. And on the cable itself, there is a little microphone capsule with a button for play, pause, picking up calls, putting down calls. Pretty standard controls here. You press one of this button to play, pause your songs, and if there's a call that comes, you press it to pick it up and you press and hold to put it down. I think it's pretty simple to understand and it gets the job done. Just don't accidentally press and hold this. I think it redials the last call, which is not something that you want to do by accident. So that's the design, and the build quality is really good. Now, I've had these pair for at least a year at this point, I think, and they've lasted me and served me extremely well. You know, they're built well, they're solidly built. I've thrown them around, I've brought them overseas on holidays and different things, and they've withstanded all that torture and abuse. So as a result, I can safely say that the build quality for a pair of cheap earphones, they're really good. They work perfectly even to this day, and the materials all around feel very nice, so it definitely inspires reasonable amounts of confidence, especially for such a cheap pair of earphone, which, remember, it's mass market product. Comfort wise, these earphones are really good. You know, they're extremely comfortable, and they come with, I think, replacement ear tips so you can get the right size. But because these are pretty standard ear tips, you can generally just buy normal ear tips from random brands and get the right size if you really need the right size ear tips. I found the ear tips that it comes with very nice. I like the design of it. It sticks out from your ear a little bit, but I like how it sticks out instead of kind of being clumsy and kind of irritates your ear. You know, some earphones are a bit too big, and when they go into your ear, it just feels uncomfortable. This feels perfectly fine. It's a standard default earphone. It doesn't go over the ear or anything. It just goes in like that, and it's good. Let's talk about sound quality, because that is very important, and that's kind of the biggest thing that made this pair of earphones really popular around the world. I mean, not around the world, in China, because for its price, it was one of the cheap earphones available on the market that actually had really good high quality sound. So how does it actually sound? Well, I'm gonna look at my notes here because describing sound is a bit complicated. Okay, so how about the sound then? First off, to me, on these earphones, the high mids and the bass stand out the most to me. This is where there's the most energy, the most detail, and it's also a bit of the loudest. But overall, the sound signature is reasonably smooth. It's like quite balanced for a cheap earphone. It isn't phenomenal, and it isn't a pair of M70Xs, but it definitely sounds really nice, and it isn't crazy high in the bass or crazy high in treble. Yes, the bass is a tad overbearing, but overall it's pretty nice, and while the treble is a bit subdued, overall it still sounds reasonably balanced, which is good. The mids are pretty sweet, and I really like how it kind of processes vocals on these earphones. For a cheap pair of earphones, I think listening to vocal heavy tracks on this isn't too much of an issue, you know. At this price range, there's really nothing that can compare to it. I mean, there are stuff that can compare to it, but at this price range, it's a really very good. Downstage though is not great on these earphones because, you know, it's a pair of cheap wired earphones. It's closed off, so if you're trying to game and trying to listen to footsteps on this, it's not going to be the greatest choice, but hey, it's not the worst either. You still have some sort of separation and some sort of clarity to it. In terms of detail, of course, it could be much better. Having my ears spoiled by fancy headphones, I would say the detail isn't amazing, but it is far from bad either. I've tried earphones with way worse detail, and this one is really not that bad at all. It's pretty good actually. In terms of isolation, which is I think very important for the average consumer, it is very good once you get the right size ear tips. Once it fits right, you know, you're going to be able to block out a lot of the sound around you. You're going to be able to sleep at work if you want to. There's good seal. So overall, this sound quality from these earphones are really not that bad. They're really quite good for 15 Singapore dollars, and for the fact that they're also built well, they look very nice, very clean, and they're very easy to get hands on because they're so popular. The 1More Piston Fits or the Xiaomi Piston Fits, either one, they're pretty much the same, are gonna do you a great job for the price. Overall, the sound then is pretty good. I mean, it's not the best in its class, even though it's a very cheap pair of earphones, because nowadays with it being so competitive, you have earphones with 2, 3, 4 drivers at this price range, which is insane, and they sound really good. But I think you have to factor in the fact that these earphones are much easier to get than those special brands that are being very aggressive in the market. Also, you have to factor in the fact that these earphones are much better built oftentimes and have better QC than those earphones that have insane specs and insane sound for the price. But because these Xiaomi or 1More Piston Fits have, you know, an actual brand behind them, they actually have QC in them, they're going to be more reliable. So for the average consumer, I would say that the 1More Piston Fit, in conclusion, is a pretty good buy. For $15, it's a no fuss, no hassle, easy to use, gets the job done kind of wired earphone. And if you are in need of a pair of cheap wired earphone, the 1More Piston Fit is a good choice. But if you're looking for the absolute best sound for $20, there are other options out there. A V Monk with a good amp is gonna sound better than this. Or there are some fancy 4, 3, 2 driver earphones that are available on the Chinese market from brands such as KZ that provide insanely good sound. Although I find that with those earphones, because they go ham with the specs and the audio quality on those devices, you often end up with slightly worse build quality and you have to really baby them, if not they're gonna break very easily. Trade-offs as always, especially at the cheap price range of things, but I think the 1More Piston Fits or the Xiaomi Piston Fits that are pretty much the same thing are gonna do you a pretty good job no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, so long as you need a cheap pair of wired headphones. Of course, so long as you have a headphone jack. Okay, I'm gonna end this video off here. I've ranted on long enough. I think this video was pretty well done. If you do agree with that, like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. As you can tell, I've been doing daily uploads. I pretty much haven't slept in 5 days because I am juggling both work and YouTube. And if you really want to help out what I'm trying to start here on this channel, make sure you support this channel. Just watch as many videos as you are interested in. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff, And do this with all the channels that you think deserve support, not just me, if you do think I deserve support. Help out the average content creator. Times are tough right now, and I'm really working hard to try to get something going with this channel, so I really need your help with that. And if you watch to this point in this video, make sure you comment C500 in the comment section so I know you watched to this point in this video, and I'll give you a little heart. Alright, anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye.